Okay, I'm Ronnie Oliver.
I'm Matthias Oliver.
I'm Regan Oliver, and we are the Oliver family from Spokane, Washington.
Yes.
So we've been working really hard on helping Mathias, our son, who's 15, and he came out when he was 12, and we've been trying to...
11 officially.
Well, that's right, 11. I stand corrected. And so one day, Mathias, I think, just finally had the courage or just felt inspired to share that with both of us. And so he came down to talk to us, and what ended up happening was he couldn't actually articulate it. He needed to, he wrote it down on a little scratch of paper and handed it to his dad.
Right, yeah. I've always told him that he could talk to us about anything, and especially me. But I think for what he had to say, he was a little bit apprehensive. But once he kind of gave me the notes, I want to reassure him that, no matter what, whether he's gay, African American, tall, short, slim, larger, he's my son and I love him. And I would want to support him no matter what he does.
We've had some difficult issues with some of the kids and just sort of the environment at school. And thankfully I have these two beautiful, wonderful people to come home to. And the main concerns were just with some of the dialogue that was said about me, homo, and I usually don't use this word, but fag, and just not nice words at all. And the fact that they were even thought of being used to project on me, even though they didn't even know me, was scary enough. But that they were taking time out of their day to just totally ruin mine. So I wanted to try and nip them with the butt as soon as possible, not just for me, but for anyone else coming to school.
The type of language that has been bombarded him as he goes to school and walk down the street. Just tell you a situation. One day he came home and he said some kids were giving him a hard time, calling him some names. He and my friend was walking home, and I don't know if this is the time that the kids spit at him or something like that, but he came home and told us, and as soon as I heard what he said, I told my wife, I'm like, let's go. We're going to go talk to those kids and find out who's doing this and why they're doing that.
This was a separate incident from the spitting thing.
Okay.
And I'd actually been coming home from this thing called bench practice, and it's just kind of like a student version of cheerleading. We get together, we do routines, and just at this big church bench and make everything all cool and stuff.
Spirit rally in a sense?
Yes, and we'd been walking home, and they were like, I don't think that they might have been thinking straight, because my friend, she said that she could see a wine bottle in there and they'd been smoking, so I'm going to guess that they were a little friendly when it came to the drinking. So it was kind of scary because they specifically said to my friend Aubrey, they called her a booty hoe, which doesn't even make much sense to me, but okay. And they'd said, and I believe this was from one of the African Americans that was in the car at the time, he had said that I was a disgrace to all black people. And it was just like, okay, well, just blood them off. And we came home, and as my father pointed out, he kind of went off father commando mode and wanted to punch people in the face.
I went out there and talked to the kids and found out, in fact, 2 of the kids were football players on the team. And after I kind of talked to them a little bit, I said, just listen, man, my son is a freshman. He's kind of new to the school. He's kind of not used to what's going on. Can you guys kind of look out for him and make sure he's okay? He said, yes, no problem. It was just as simple as that, just talking to the kids. So that just shows that, there's so many kids out there willing to help. All you have to do is sometimes just talk to them and say something. So that just made me feel so much better. My son was still embarrassed, but I told him I wouldn't do that again. I learned my lesson. But, that I think that's a growing process for us as parents to learn what to do and what not to do. So I learned my lesson.